Welcome back. Today we're talking about one of the most important, but sometimes most overlooked parts of your roof, the ridge. Specifically, we're talking about the ridge vent, what it is, how it works, and how it might save you a lot of money on your roof, your HVAC, and your heating and cooling costs every year. Now, something that not a lot of people think about is that your attic likes to breathe, and breathing has two components to it there's breathing in and there's breathing out. When we're talking about an attic, we're talking about air intake and air exhaust. Now, most homes already have various air intake systems. You might have soffit vents, which are these speckled components that you might see around the perimeter of your roof. You might use gable vents, you might use fans or other motorized components. But not every home has the exhaust, which is the breathing out component of the roof. This is what the ridge vent is for. Now, the ridge vent was added to the International Building Code about 20 years ago. Various states have adopted it over time, sort of one by one, but the ridge vent has always been a good idea. The idea behind the ridge vent is that it's laid across the ridge of your roof. That's the very peak of the house where the panels of the roof will lay together, and air will be able to exhaust cleanly up out through that ridge without any fans, without any motors, without any wires, or any electrical components. This accomplishes temperature control inside the attic, and it also accomplishes moisture wicking, adding to the life expectancy of the roof, the shingles, the wood, the HVAC system, all that good stuff. Now, your attic space is taking in air, including water vapor, sort of whether you like it or not, because we're not just talking about air from the exterior, we're talking about all of the air that circulates inside your house as well. Think about all the water vapor that you produce from cooking, from showering, from doing laundry. On older homes, this kind of thing was typically less of an issue because you would have drafts. You would have old wooden windows that were very drafty. But now, ironically, because homes are so much more efficient, those interior air spaces are tighter, and that air that you're generating has nowhere to go except up. And so you can be getting hot, moist air just flowing right up from your living spaces into your attic. So if this is not properly ventilated, what you might have is just hot, dead air sitting in your attic that's not circulating properly. If you've noticed that it is very hot in your attic, if you've got damp or moldy insulation, if you've got discolored or darkened roof decking, this is a phenomenon that we call graying. If you see a lot of ambering up there, curled or crumbling shingles, or other forms of condensation in the attic, or if it's just hotter in your house than you think it should be, and you've already had a look at the doors and the windows to make sure that the interior air control is looking good and you're out of other ideas, it might be time to think about redoing your attic ventilation. So, to accomplish better ventilation, the best and the most affordable way to do it is with a good ridge vent. Here's how a ridge vent works: a roofer is going to cut an incision about 3 inches wide across the ridge of the house. Again, that's the very peak of the house where the panels lay together. They're then going to lay the vent element across it. This is the Owens Corning version of that, which is my preferred version, but many manufacturers will make these. And then they'll just shingle over it, A, to protect the vent element itself, and B, so it looks a little bit nicer. If this is functioning properly, wind passing over the roof of the house, over that very ridge, creates a lower pressure system that extracts the hot, moist air from inside the attic and just pulls it right out through the ridge vent. In that sense, the ridge vent acts very much like an exhaust. And again, the big advantage here being that this is physics doing all of the work for you, in through the soffits, in through the gable vents, out through the ridge, without any mechanical parts, any motors, or electricity or wires. Now, a ridge vent is just one of those things in roofing that goes a long way for not a lot of money. It helps to control moisture and temperature in the attic space. It adds longevity to the wood and to the shingles. Something else that not a lot of people know, though, is that a lot of shingle manufacturers require proper attic ventilation for their warranties to be valid on a roof install. So, Owens Corning, Atlas, GAF, a lot of those big players in shingle manufacturing, if you read the fine print, their warranties are going to require that you have that ventilation anyway. So, because they're code, you may be required to get them when you're selling your house or when you're going to get or renew an insurance policy. You may be required to have a ridge vent installed anyway, in which case it's usually just a good idea to think about doing it as part of a full roof replacement. There are other reasons that the ridge vent is going to make sense for you. Our friends over at Quality Edge have calculated some of the cost savings associated with the ridge vent. In particular, they're looking at HVAC costs. You can see here the amount of money that you stand to save on future maintenance and repair issues. Our other friends over at All Weather Exteriors have calculated that improper attic ventilation might add as much as 20% to the wear and tear on your HVAC system itself. There are other costs associated with not having proper ventilation that mostly go to the life expectancy of your roof. Proper attic ventilation helps to prevent mold, mildew, indoor air quality issues that might even affect, your health, the air that you breathe. So it's not just a matter of temperature, it's not just a matter of comfort. When it comes to things like wood quality and air quality, it's a matter of health and it's a matter of safety. If you're curious about how much a ridge vent might cost you, check out our video on the cost of roof replacement. When it comes to doing a ridge vent, there are a few things that can affect the price of such a system, not the least of which is the size of your ridge, aka the size of your roof or the size of your house. There is also some math that a good roofer will do to determine what the proper ratio of air intake to air exhaust is. So a roofer might tell you that you need to add intake ventilation either in the soffits or on the roof itself, or there may be other techniques that they would recommend for adding new air intake. That being said, unless there's a really good reason for it, I would typically not recommend using a motorized fan system for air intake. It's a little bit counterproductive. One of the main advantages of the ridge vent being that when it's functioning properly, you don't need any of those mechanical or electronic systems. It should be simple physics doing all of the work for you. So when you're sitting down with the roofer to plan this project out, just make sure that you have a clear understanding of what it is that you're getting, why the roofer is doing what they're doing. It seems like the roofer understands the proper way to do this job, and that whatever's going to get installed is going to be a good fit for you, for your existing shingles, for your house, and your insurance provider. Thanks for watching. As always, you'll be able to find links to our external sources down below. If you found this video to be helpful, please give us a like, a subscribe, and a share.